Okay, so I'm doing this thing again where I just open up the camera and start talking and see if anything interesting happens. I really like this time I really didn't think at all before doing this. I had like one thought and then I was like, okay, camera. I don't even know where this is going. So I woke up pretty late today because yesterday I was up early, and being up early is just not my thing. Especially the last few weeks, I've been going to bed really late and then not getting up later. So I've been getting less sleep overall, and then so yesterday, of course, I still had been staying up pretty late, and then I woke up earlier. So yeah, so I was really tired, and I actually woke up at 8 today, which is earlier than I usually wake up, but I knew I was too tired to stay awake, but it was also hard for me to fall asleep. But then eventually I finally did, but then I didn't end up getting out of bed until like 12:40, and I felt really tired, and my legs were really achy. I don't really know why, but for some reason they just are today. So I'm like, well, do I want to go do Instacart today? Do I want to go try to work? And I was really fighting with myself over that. And then I decided to leave, and then I was like, I left the house and like got outside and like realized that the sky didn't look very happy. And then I go into the weather app and it's like isolated thunderstorms, and I was like, well, I already decided that I was leaving the house, so I'm leaving the house. But I've only done one Instacart order so far, and I'm here. Well, I started at a different store than normal, because it kind of looked like, I was like, well, maybe I'll just start driving this way because the weather looks slightly less bad. So then I went there, but then like I did one order, and then the cell service was really bad out there sitting in the parking lot, so I was getting annoyed, so I left and came back to this other store that I usually go to, and now I'm just here recording this video. And I don't know, this would be what, like 3 days now. I started looking into, the Myers-Briggs personality types, like, which I've learned about before, and I've looked at, my type. I'm an INFP, and like I've looked at that before, but then like I really started because I had watched this video, right, that it was about I'm an INFP, so that's intuition, right? And I watched this video on intuition versus sensing, and I was like, why do I relate more to these sensing things? And then like I started watching more videos and like people talking about different elements, and I was like, well, this is interesting. And I'm like, do people even like really understand all this about how this works? And I'm like, well, probably not. But I start looking into it, and then like I get into the cognitive functions of it all, and I'm like, well, this makes it just so much more interesting. And like I watched this one particular YouTuber talking. Well, first I started watching one that was like about my type, and then like the breakdown of it, and then I started watching her videos on like the individual cognitive functions, like all the different ones. I started watching that, but the one that was like for INFP, just kind of like a whole like overview and like the order of the cognitive functions and how that all works. And I'm like, this is really interesting, and now I understand why I was relating more to the sensing ones. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. It's because I'm just like unevolved Cool. But yeah, so like clearly I mean, I don't know if you know, if anyone watching this knows anything about these, right? Okay, but I'm like, okay, so the issue is that, okay, so they called an INFP, right? They said that like the introverted sensing, right? So like I watched this video about intuition versus sensing, and I related more to the sensing one. So the introverted sensing is labeled as my overused weakness. And I'm like, oh, okay. So it's like, it's kind of like this thing. And she also described it as like like the bratty teenager is the, like for INFP is the introverted sensing, and then the parent is the extroverted intuition. And like that extroversion part, right, because I'm an introvert, it's probably why I have still to this point been very resistant stepping into the extroverted parts. Okay, so like there's like your four main functions are what you should be focusing on, right? And like the number one is the introverted feeling. And I'm like, yeah, that obviously makes sense. Like I'm always in my own mind, involved in my own feelings. Like, yeah, obviously that makes sense. Yes, I do that all the time. I think I am typed very correctly from all the information that I've seen. And I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit distracted because I see these like, well, there's this kind of looks like a kid, or maybe it's just a person that's a little short. I think it's a kid, just like at this fence. And now there's this older man that has come up to this fence over here as well. And I'm just sitting here wondering what exactly they're doing. I was saying before, okay, yeah, so I'm like, okay, well, I'm watching all these things, right? And so I'm like, okay, so a big way that I should try to improve myself is to get into these extroverted, like the extroverted intuition mostly, and also about these things. When I was like watching these things, like I watched a whole video about the introverted sensing, and then I watched a whole video about the extroverted intuition. And like some of these things, I'm like, the introverted sensing kind of sounds like my autism. Like that's kind of what that sounds like. And I'm like, oh, like that's another reason why I relate to all this as well. It's like things like liking routine and like you know, the sensory environment, but because it's like the introverted sensing, it's more about your own, like what meaning you're attaching to your sensory environment, and just all these other things. And then like the extroverted intuition is like constantly doing new things, you know, like seeking novelty and all this kinds of things. And like that video is kind of like, and some of it is like, I feel like that was more me when I was a child. Like I was more of this as a child because I was less afraid afraid of things. I didn't have so much fear about, like, you know, what could go wrong. And I feel like I've just like been so stuck in anxiety, basically. I feel like that's like one of my biggest problems, is that I just have so much anxiety about everything. But yeah, so now, like, I don't know, I've just been fascinated with this right now, and I'm like, okay, so I need to figure out how to get more into this extroverted intuition, and then maybe I can improve my life. And then another part of that is the extroverted thinking, which is like my biggest weakness. It's labeled it's underused, and it's not because it's a weakness, because it feels like to the INFP that they're worse at it than they actually are. It's like an inferiority complex, they say. And it's like, we're not actually that bad at it, but it's definitely something that we don't like to use a lot. And this is more like the realm of like, planning, setting out like, these are the steps that you need to take, and like productivity kind of thing. And I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm definitely terrible at that. And it's like INFPs, it's never going to be the first thing that you're leaning on, but it's like, that's something you want to like just increase a little bit, so that I guess the feeling aspect of it all is because my number one function as an INFP is the internal feeling. Okay, and apparently I don't know, this thing lends itself to all the creative types. I think INFPs are often creative types from what I'm seeing, and so it's like we have all these ideas, and we want to be able to do something where we're able to express our feeling, and also like art is the best way to do this, because you can never really have a full grasp of your feelings. It's just something that's so like, you can't ever have a full understanding, and then especially getting other people to feel that. And I feel like for me personally, like I'm always wanting people to understand me, and it's like, and I'm like, I'm kind of getting this idea, like obviously like the way you do that is just expressing yourself through art. Like that's the best way to express yourself, with something creative. And it's like, I need to have more of this extroverted intuition and extroverted thinking to actually execute this. And it's like, so I need to be doing more new things, which I mean it's interesting. I mean, and then especially as someone who is autistic and ADHD, but apparently, I don't know, I feel like more often leaning into like autistic traits of like when it comes to routine, for example. Like I do get a lot of times where I'm like, I want to do something, and that's like the ADHD, right? And that's like, this extroverted intuition is like, just go do something new. Like, because I have this untapped strength where I'm able to like look at the outside world and see possibilities. But it's like, I'm so stuck in this SI, this introverted sensing, where I'm like, no, we're just gonna stick to how things usually are. We're just gonna stick to this routine. We just want to rely on what we know. And it's like, no, you need to go. I'm like, I need to do new things, because like, I'm obviously, if I just keep doing the same thing that I've been doing with my life, like I'm going to be absolutely fucking miserable. I'm going to be miserable because, I'm just doing the same thing all the time, and it's not, and I'm just like always trying to work like how I started this video. I was like sitting here fighting with myself because I woke up not feeling very energized, not feeling that great, and I was like, like I could take a day off, but like yet I left the house. Because why? Like, I'm too motivated by the fact that I have things that I need to pay for. Too motivated by the fear of, like, those consequences of not having the money. And, like, what's going to happen if I don't take care of these things. But it's like, if you just, instead of putting all your energy into this, directed it into, like, something creative. And I think INFPs in general also, like me, have a lot of different interest. So, like, for example, this one thing being, like, this YouTube channel that I'm trying to make. If I put more focus, discipline, executed more time, like actually planned out these times when I'm gonna sit and work on something like a YouTube channel or whatever else that I'm interested in at any given time, it's like you could do better. Like, it would be better if you executed more discipline into the practice instead of just, like, trying to, and I was doing okay in the beginning, but like I said, like, the last video I posted, like, before that I went 3 weeks without posting, and then have been just kind of like, well, maybe I'll just start doing this thing, like, I'll just do it when I feel like doing it. And it's like, no, dude, like, get some of that extroverted thinking in there, and, like, you know, and the right kind of introverted sensing, you know, the kind that is loyal to this extroverted intuition that first gave me idea of, like, hey, start a YouTube video. So, like, at least I had that going for me, is that, like, I did use that extroverted intuition for that and be like, oh, hey, yeah, let's do this new thing where we start a YouTube channel and make videos. Like, that's cool. So, you know, I don't know. I guess this is what I wanted to talk about, because this is what I've been hyperfixating on the last few days, is learning more about the Myers-Briggs and, like, the more of the individual parts that are going into this, because I just love learning about, I just love learning. I consume a lot of information. So another problem of mine is that I'm just, like, consuming too much. I'm not creating enough. Like, I'm not having enough time to just, like, kind of sit and do nothing. And, you know, and that's when I can allow those things to come in. Like, allow the extroverted intuition. Like, if I just sit still for a moment and let myself see possibilities, and then go, you know, be extroverted in those things and do something, instead of relying on these, like, introverted functions. It's like, I need to get to the extroverted ones, these extroverted intuition, extroverted thinking. And it's like, obviously I don't want to do that because it takes work. And it's like, dude, just do it. It's like, why are you willing to put so much energy into, like, doing your silly little job to make money? Like, you got energy to do that, but not energy to put into something that you actually like creating something. It's like, I'm looking at myself and I'm like, dude, that's just sad. Like, let's do something about this. But, you know, we'll see how it goes. See if I actually listen to myself. I tend not to. I like to learn things the hard way, apparently. You know, I just let things get to the point where I'm like, oh, this is so terrible. I have no choice but to do something about this. So yeah, I guess this video has been about INFPs and coming to the realization that like I need to step into these underused strengths. Yeah, okay, I don't know how to end this video. I don't know, I kind of feel like I could just keep rambling for a while, but I'm not really sure if that's gonna go anywhere. So I think that I could just end this. And I've also been recording for 22 minutes and 44 seconds. I like how I noticed that. That was cool. Okay, thanks for watching. Please feel free to like this video, to comment something, to subscribe. I would really appreciate that. That would be so cool if you subscribed. And yeah, see you in the next video.